Good afternoon. I'm Tracy Sinclaire here for your Friday potluck, and I just realized my big glass of water is sitting right in front of poor Michaela. I am not alone today, at least to start off. Michaela Clark, our executive producer here, is joining me because in addition to being the executive producer, Michaela also has a huge fascination with all things geological.
Yep.
And so whenever there's a story, earthquakes, tsunamis, mudslides, landslides, that was the word I was looking for. Michaela tends to take that over because she is the person kind of with a lot of expert knowledge on that, so we rely on her a lot. Today is the 62nd anniversary of the 1964 earthquake.
Yes.
Also on a Friday.
Yes, it's not Good Friday this time.
It's not Good Friday.
I saw someone online point that out. That's
yes.
A little ways away still.
Yes, a number of years ago, my mother was still alive, so it had to have been before 2005, but there was a Good Friday, and there was another kind of good jolt, and I was like, oh, don't let history repeat itself. I was not in Alaska. I was not born yet at this point, but a lot of people were that are still around.
Yes. I've been trying to tell these people's stories through the last few years before it is too late to tell them anymore. I mean, it's been 62 years, and how old did those people have to be to remember the situation?
Yeah, I know, and the stories that you've found have been really sort of amazing in many cases. We're going to show you one here in just a second. A story that I found particularly powerful and moving, partially because of the age of the person involved. And we are doing stories as well on our news for tonight, so you'll want to join us then. Over the years, we're 62 years out, and you've done a lot of different stories. Volcanoes also did a lot of work on the volcano stories. What's changed? Like, do you think anything's changed if we had that happen again today? What do you think happens?
I think that that's a really hard answer because it has been 62 years. We had a little bit of like a taste of it in 2018 with the 7.1, but this was a 9.2 in 1964. It is the second largest recorded earthquake, and it was devastating. I mean, like downtown Anchorage, the streets dropped. Turning Arm was a huge landslide. That's just to mention a few of the tsunami deaths, the destruction, all the way down to, I believe it was Crescent City, California, people died. Yeah. And so it's like, how can you prepare for something like this? But I also know that like our codes have changed since then, that people have done the work, done the engineering, and put that effort in to make sure we're as safe as can be, but can you ever be prepared?
Right. One of the things that I didn't realize, and I know this is actually, I think, one of your stories, was the devastation and the destruction in Seward.
Yes.
And that's not the story we're going to tell today, but before we get any further, you have all these stories put together in one really cool place.
Yes. It is a part of my Fault in the Facts series. You can find it on our website by searching Fault in the Facts or Fault in the Facts, Alaska's news source, just in your browser. Right. I have stories that are, there's 3 or 4 from the earthquake. There's other geologic fascinations of mine, some landslide related things as well, so you can find that all there. And
also on our streaming platforms, we have the special that I believe you produced 2 years ago, which was the 60th anniversary. So of course we highlight those big anniversaries, but all of the stories, it's not like it's not still valid, right? All of those stories are still valid, and there are a lot of survivor stories. That is available not only on our website, but you can also find it on our free streaming app. So if you're sitting at home and you want to watch it on your TV, just make sure you have that Alaska's News Source app downloaded onto your Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Roku, and there is a button right there. It's one of the tiles on the front screen. If you click that, it takes you right to the special, and you can watch that. And that was really interesting, and those stories in there are really fascinating.
I'll make a pitch to that.
Okay.
The feedback I heard was, these are stories we haven't heard anywhere. Like a lot of times when we do like anniversary specials, like it can be like the same stories we're telling again and again. And so the feedback I heard is that these are different. And one thing that I thought was really cool is I talked to someone who was in the Turnagain Arm landslide. She was about 5 years old, went outside when the shaking started, and with her mom fell down the slope. And with her help, we figured out exactly where that was, and I'd go and find it and what it looked like 2 years ago when we did that special. And so you can see where she fell down, the story she's telling, and then see what it looks like today, and you'd have no idea.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, let's talk about one of those stories. Just give us a little, this is Wade's story from Valdez.
Yes.
And so just give us kind of an overview, and then we'll go ahead and watch Wade's story.
Yeah, so he was just walking around town with his friend when it happened. His parents were wondering where he was. I think it's just one of those you gotta watch it and not spoil too much of it.
Okay, so we're going to show you Wade's story.
60 some years ago, on March 27th, at 5:36 p.m., I was in Valdez, Alaska.
It started as a day no one knew they would remember forever, including then 11-year-old Wade Holes.
Valdez was a unique place, and that was when a ship came in. That was our connection to the outer world.
Situated more than 100 miles from Anchorage as the crow flies, a ship docking in Valdez was a cause for excitement.
Everybody would go down and take their family and their kids. They'd go down to the docks and watch the China, the steamship.
While many in the little town were at the docks that evening, Wade and his friend Louie were farther from the shore.
We were done with school. If I could have helped him deliver his paper route, he was going to come to my house, spend the night, and we were going to play all Saturday.
In that moment, Wade and Louie found themselves only about 50 miles from the epicenter of the world's second largest quake.
I looked up at the mountains that were above, and this a horrible noise that's hard for me to describe.
The pair abandoned their attempt to enter a nearby building.
And then a crevasse was opening right near me and Louie. At that age, we had no concept of what was happening.
The shaking continued to rock the region for minutes.
I was standing right there, seeing a crevasse open up and close and open and close.
A pet dog caught in the fissure.
I saw Tyke, the back end of him, go into a crevasse, and he was just hanging on to the top ground with his two front paws. And I saw the crevasse close on it. And then it opened back up again. And old Tyke, I had never seen him move so fast.
Louie's dad spotted the boys.
He was running to catch to his son. And I swear, the road that he was on, he was going from side to side in my vision.
After the ground stopped shaking, Louie and Wade headed home, not knowing an underwater landslide had triggered a tsunami that had taken out the docks, and many of the people greeting the China with it.
I was not aware of all the disaster that had taken place down at the docks. And I was not aware of all of my friends that had lost their lives. Up to that point, my parents didn't know if I was at the docks too.
Wade's name could be found on the missing persons list.
Finally, I got there to my mom and sisters, and my dad came running in, and he says, Wade, where have you been?
His mom whisking the family off to higher ground, concerned a bigger tsunami was approaching.
When the tsunami hit, I was sitting with my mom and two sisters in a car on Thompson Pass.
His dad, the town's postmaster, staying behind, preparing for waves to submerge Valdez.
He saved everybody's mail that were in the mailboxes, probably Social Security checks, things that helped people survive. And he went down and stayed in town and put those things in a waterproof, fireproof safe.
The devastation continued. A few hours later, fuel storage tanks burst into flames.
I saw that town on fire. It seemed like the whole town was on fire, and it burnt for days.
Six decades later, Wade relived the quake's impacts.
A lot of bad came from that earthquake. I lost friends.
a laminated list of lives lost, still with him today. What name on here means the most to you?
The Stewarts, because I knew all the kids from school. And I was excited that they had just joined the church.
Taking a moment to recall those who didn't survive.
Then I realized the significance of the Great Alaska Earthquake.
60-some years later, these are moments Wade will never forget.
There are impressions that are seared into my brain. Like I said, it happened yesterday.
That is amazing. I'm tearing up listening to him talk. Anytime people cry, I get teary as well. So that just an amazing story, because you know has been so long that for many of us, I think we feel a little disconnected to some of it. This is some of this footage that many of us are used to seeing, but it is really interesting that you're the reminder that we are, that real people were impacted by this, and that it does cling with them today.
I really do have a passion for telling these stories. It's never fun to tell this story about death and destruction, but I think it's so important that people know what happened.
Yeah, and we appreciate that, because it really is important. And I know as Georgina Fernandez is doing a story with another survivor, 88 years old, so she obviously was at an age to remember these things. And that's I think, as we've discussed, those are the people that we could be losing soon, because it's just been so long, and you want to make sure that you are able to capture their stories before. And even our own Jackie Purcell, she was very young, very, very young when this happened, but she does have memories of it, and which is so interesting to me. But anyway, we want you to check all these out. Again, the best places to go for that will be to Fault in the Facts, which you can also find on our streaming platforms. That information is there. And that special 60 years later, it's the 62nd anniversary, but it is still a great show. It has a lot of information, a lot of these survivor stories, things that happened. Like I said, I didn't realize the damage in Seward. We went there last year for road tripping, and the gentleman took us around and talked about what had happened, and then I remembered your story about the two people in Seward, and because I didn't realize basically the whole town got set on fire because of the oil tanks that got ruptured, and then the fire started, and there was huge fires and the tsunami. I mean, it was just like they got hit 3 times in Seward.
Yeah, the tsunami was a very big impact.
Yeah, between the earthquake, tsunami, and then all of those fires, it was just devastating. And again, I hadn't realized that until just last year. I've lived in Alaska since 1972. When I got to Alaska, when you went to Earthquake Park, it looked like an earthquake had happened. Now you go to an earthquake park, and it's beautiful, and it's lovely, and the trees have grown up, and there's a great bike path that goes through it. But when we got here, you could go over, and you still saw the trees broken and the ground torn. And that was, 8 years after it had happened.
I think that's so fascinating, and we're talking about telling these stories before those people aren't here to tell them, but it's also the geologic impacts that you see. Like, we don't see that anymore.
Right, yeah, it's, and so it's so easy to kind of, again, put it in a distance, like it couldn't happen, but we all know that it could. And so anyway, check out those stories. They are very good. It is the 62nd anniversary today of the Good Friday earthquake. We do have a lot coming up still on the Potluck. I've got a moment of science. It's all about oxygen. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm trying out internet recipes. Did you get to try the pasta yesterday?
I didn't, but other people said it was great.
Yeah, so I made pasta yesterday based on an internet recipe, so we're going to check that out and see if this quick pasta dish is really that quick and if it's that tasty. But as I said, we do have a story coming up next about oxygen as we take a deep breath. Welcome back to your Friday potluck, where you can get a little bit of everything, just a bite of a bunch of different things. And one of the things, of course, I love are some science stories. And this is interesting. Oxygen is just critical on the land, on the sea. It is critical. But how did it get there in the first place? Dan Smith shows us how our slowing planet may have sped up that process. It's all here in your moment of science.
We've known about Earth's rotation about its axis going back to ancient Greece, taking about 24 hours' time. In the millennia since, we've refined our calculations, yet our home planet's rate of spin has never been a constant.
When planets or astronomical bodies orbit each other, their gravity kind of pulls on the planet and makes these bulges.
Ashika Caparala at Purdue University explains those changing bulges exert a sort of friction on the planet, with that energy getting dissipated into the ocean through tides and the like.
When this energy is dissipated, the overall orbit kind of loses energy and the planet spins a bit slower and the moon gets further away from Earth.
Caparala's work mostly revolves around oceanography, and specifically how the planet's Coriolis effect dictates how conveyor belts of water and air curve and speed and slow across the big blue marble we call home. Ocean upwelling in some spots and sinking in others dictates how marine life can tap into dissolved oxygen to thrive and evolve. Now using 3D modeling, Caparala is taking Earth's rotation and applying it to that ocean nutrient cycling, finding a slower rate actually helps to boost that upwelling process.
Mostly what slowing rotation does is it strengthens the response of the surface ocean flows to winds, basically increasing this kind of vertical exchange in the ocean. So this brings up nutrients that kind of accumulate down in the ocean as life dies on the surface and then sinks, gets eaten up, and then these nutrients go back to the surface.
Increasing nutrients at the surface and oxygen in the briny deep also helps us air-breathing creatures. Currently, our surface air is about 21% oxygen, with the lion's share going to nitrogen, but that percentage was much different billions of years ago. Caparala tweaked the model for a poorly oxygenated early Earth and expected to find that slowing rotation would lead to larger pools of ocean surface oxygen thanks to tiny organisms like phytoplankton doing their thing, yet that wasn't the case.
What we realized was happening was that as rotation slowed, the atmospheric circulation was also changing. The winds were suddenly overlapping the places that there was a lot of photosynthesis. And when winds are going faster, they kind of like mix up the surface of the ocean, and then this leads to more gases leaving the ocean into the atmosphere.
Caparala says this could have favorable implications for not only how Earth got its oxygen in the first place, but also the possibility of finding it on distant worlds.
It's promising to see that slower rotating planets can have a greater potential for surface productivity, which means that life could have a larger impact on its atmosphere,
using the vast circulating waters of our planet for potential discoveries on others. For this week's Moment of Science, I'm Dan Smith.
And back here in Alaska, new data is showing that the amount of Arctic sea ice is tied at last year's record low. The ice, of course, builds up during the winter, and it tends to reach its peak right about now in March. Scientists measured it on the 15th and found that the ice had reached 5.52 million square acres, which is technically tied to last year's reading. However, it is also the lowest peak observed since the satellite records that began in 1979. The Arctic sea ice, of course, important because it reflects that sunlight away from the Earth and back into space. As it shrinks, more of the sun's energy is then absorbed by the ocean, which then accelerates global heating. That's what you call a positive feedback loop. Not positive in that it's good, but that it amplifies the situation. Now we are going to take another quick break, and when we come back, this is where I get to cook. I am trying out a recipe that I found on the internet, wanted to see if it was actually as good as it looked, and we're going to do a few events going on around the state. So that's coming up in just a few minutes. And welcome back to your Friday afternoon potluck. Let's take a look at some of the events going on around the state. We're going to start here in the Anchorage area. You can pop some tags at your favorite thrift store, or maybe check out your grandpa's closet, then get ready to dance at the Willowa Social. It's this Saturday from 9:30 until 2. That's early in the morning for some of us who are of a certain age. It is the Thrift Shop Dance Party 4.0. That sounds like a lot of fun though. And you can celebrate Easter a little bit early with an egg hunt. There's photos with the Easter Bunny. You can make crafts and explore vendors at the Eagle River Bowl this weekend. And that is happening both Saturday and Sunday, noon to 7 on Saturday and 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. And in Fairbanks, we have the Family Dance Party. It's a family-friendly dance party. The pint-size proms theme is Jurassic Jungle. Now, please feel free to dress up, but they really ask that you don't wear a blow-up dinosaur costume. This Saturday, it goes from 4 until 7 at the Fairbanks Children's Museum. You can get tickets by going to their website. And just a reminder that just a few days left to apply for your Alaska Permanent Fund dividend. The filing window closes March 31st, so we are getting awfully close to that. We're at the 27th. That closes at 11:59 p.m. If you haven't applied, log into your My Alaska account, fill out that application, and if you don't want to e-sign, you can still file online and mail in a signature or pick up a paper application at distribution centers around the state. Now, I am going to confess that I'm addicted to social media. I am quite addicted to social media in many cases. It's kind of embarrassing. But I get some recipes from it, or I save a lot of recipes because they look really good and I want to try them out. But I never know if they're really as good, and sometimes I've tried them and it's like, that wasn't as good as I thought it was. But I am a pretty good cook and I can follow a recipe. So this week we're going to check out this one.
We dump it all into one pot, boil it for 10 minutes, stir it twice, and look how delicious this is. What I'm about to show you is the easiest and most delicious one-pot pasta that you can make. We're gonna pour everything into a pot, bring it to a boil, mix it, and we're done. And the result is this incredibly creamy, cheesy, delicious tomato basil pasta. So if you've had a long day, save this recipe because it's going to make your life so much easier. So take 2 cups of cherry tomatoes and cut them in half.
Okay, that is the 99 Cooking Club. He used to be known as the Recession Chef, so if you've seen some of those, I had a little bit of confidence this is really going to be a pretty good recipe, not because I'd made it, but because I had made his recipes before. I made a potato soup recipe. Loaded baked potato soup was what it was called, or loaded potato soup. I'd never had potato soup, but it looked good. I liked all the ingredients. It's really good. It turned out really, really well. He is actually an excellent chef. So that's one of the ones that's in my frequent rotation now. So some of these are successful. So yesterday I went into the kitchen here at the station to give this one a try. Now I have to confess, I had some technical issues. One of my cameras died in the middle of it, so I didn't get any recording from that, but I had the camera that's focused on the pot. So you don't really see me as we go through. You can kind of hear me in the room. So, but I do want to go through this because I thought it was really interesting. And then in the end, we actually have a couple people try it and see if they think this was worth it. So we're supposed to start off with 2 cups of cherry tomatoes. I did wash these. I washed my counters. I am here in the station kitchen. So we're, I'm using the utensils that I have here in our kitchen, and we don't own a cutting board, which I might have to invest in one. But like I said, I did wipe down the counters. They are clean. And I washed the cherry tomatoes. I'm supposed to do 2 cups of these. I'm just doing whatever the one package was because I don't actually like tomatoes as tomatoes. I like them. I like the flavor of them in some things, but I don't like the texture. Okay, so you're supposed to use 4 cloves of garlic. I've got 7 because that's what I do. I overuse garlic, but I love it, and I think it's kind of tough to have too much, though I've been told that's not true. Okay, that is 7 cloves of garlic, finely minced, and into the pot. Okay, recipe calls for 12 ounces of rigatoni, which is about 3/4 of the box. Everything in the pot. Here we go, and then 2 cups of chicken broth. Again, I'll move you over. I have to confess, I don't feel like there was enough liquid here, but it turns out that this was a half teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Yes, I am recording.
It's exciting.
Well, we'll see.
All the wonderful smells.
I'm just, and I'm also guessing on all of these, which I don't usually do, but we're doing it this time.
You got a good feel for it, right? Like,
I'm just putting in more of what I like.
okay, that's not bad.
This is oregano from my garden from last year.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Oh, it smells so good.
It smells so lovely. So there's probably too much oregano in there, but I like it, and again, it's fresh from my garden.
This is exciting.
We're seeing if this internet recipe is as good. Ooh, that's way too much. Teaspoon? That look like a teaspoon?
I'm terrible with that.
Okay. We'll give that a shot. And then some black pepper. Half teaspoon of black pepper. That was John Thompson that had stopped in. I always like to warn people that I'm recording when they walk into the kitchen. I kind of like my pepper, so we're just going to do a little bit here. And since I'm not measuring anything, measure with your heart. Okay. Okay, this says 2 tablespoons. And I know that I have a tablespoon measure. We learned that last week, but you know, we're just gonna, again, measure with our hearts. 1. I'm gonna say that's about 2. Hopefully. And then we mix it. What do you think? Okay, now it says we boil it for 10 minutes on medium high. Do I put my... Nope, I've got 2 other things, but they don't go in yet. So let's... I watched the pot never boil, so I walked away and it started boiling. Just about out of liquid, so I'm going to go ahead and do the next step, which I'm going to turn that heat down to, or off. I'm supposed to crush a couple of the tomatoes. So they kind of feel like they're already pretty crushed to me. Making sure this camera, my other camera died, so okay, a half a cup of cream. Why not? And then you're supposed to use fresh parm. I don't have any fresh parm, so we are using of pre-grated parm. I had fresh parm and I left it at home. Again, this is we're measuring with our hearts. Okay, it looks pretty good. That cream and the parm, let's get the parm a little bit of a chance to melt in there. Okay, I've pulled it off the heat. And then I'm supposed to add in some torn up basil leaves, which I can totally do because I love the smell of basil. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna try a little scoop here. I'm supposed to add a little more parm on top. Here's bite. It's pretty good. Let's see, time on my clock is 45 minutes. So, is it amazingly quick? Not amazingly quick. What's one pot? Oh, that was pretty good. Yeah, I think if you want to put like some chicken in it or something, give you a little protein as well. Okay, I'm gonna go have a few people at their try, see if they like it.
Smells delicious. Oh, this is really good.
It's not bad for one pot, right?
No, and I'm personally not a big creamy pasta person, but it's just light enough that it works.
I was kind of surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Is the pasta done? I kind of felt the pasta was maybe not a little.
It's al dente. This is really good.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a winner.
Can I get the recipe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see how it is. These we got the whole crew going.
Okay.
Moment of truth.
On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Yep.
It's good.
That's not bad for
It's not bad at all. It's not bad for one pot. And how long did it take? Yeah.
45 minutes.
It's very Parmesan-y. It is. It's cheesy and it's really good. I like the noodles. What are these orange things?
Yeah, what are the orange things?
Tomatoes.
They're good.
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Okay, yeah.
Cherry tomatoes.
Can we have more?
Of course. Yay. So success for an Instagram recipe?
Yes, ma'am. It's gone.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Good job. More.
So I got the whole crew in there to try this out, and yeah, everybody seemed to like it. I then, had most of the newsroom try it. So 99 Cooking Club, that is his name on Instagram. He might be on YouTube, on TikTok as well, but definitely check it out because that's the second recipe that I've done by him, and so far both of them have been quite successful. So I'm gonna keep doing those. I like doing this. I like seeing if those recipes work out. Last week sort of worked out. This week I think pretty much I might do that again. I might just throw some chicken in there so that we get a little bit of protein on top of that pasta. But I think it was a winner. Pretty much everybody in the station that had it thought it was a winner. So definitely going to keep checking out those recipes. Now when we come back, we're going to do some consumer and some real estate news, discussing whether it's better to remodel or relocate. Depends on, of course, the economy. And we're going to talk a little bit about HELOCs, which I'm a little bit confused by, and they scare me because I've heard people get kind of into trouble with those. So at least I know one person that's gotten into trouble with them. So they worry me, so I'm really interested in some of this information that we're going to get when we come right back. Welcome back to your Friday afternoon potluck. As I said, we're going to talk a little bit about some consumer news. And in this story, where people are trying to make ends meet, you know, we've got inflation, some low inventory, and unsteady interest rates. Some homeowners are wondering whether it's a better idea to relocate or actually remodel. So Dawn G had a chance to talk with a recognized expert in construction and technology as many families decide if this is the way they can make ends meet.
The National Association of Home Builders says American households are relocating at the lowest rate ever recorded. They are making the best of what they have. The home you have could again be the home you absolutely love and want.
With the housing crisis that we're in a situation where it's not always realistic to move, to buy a new home, home additions are a really effective way of getting the space that you're looking for while staying put.
John Grishpool is the co-founder and co-CEO of Great Builds, a free service that connects homeowners with vetted general contractors. With housing costs so high and in such short supply, Grishpool points out national data shows renovation spending is reaching record highs.
When it comes to any large-scale remodeling project, there's always the fear, there's always the concern of scope creep, of the project costing twice as much, of hiring a bad contractor who ends up taking your money and disappearing.
Grishpool stresses the first brick you lay in this project should be finding the right renovation contractor. It may take some time and vetting, but it will always be worth it, literally.
I always recommend getting at least 3 to 5 bids and spend a lot of time reviewing and screening the contractor that you're considering.
What is it you're looking for? How can you get it? How much will it cost?
The price ranges for a home addition will depend on where you're located and what exactly you're looking to add. An addition can cost anywhere from $100 to $300 per square foot on average.
Some states are higher. New York and California far exceed that price. But if your home is already in one of those states, you probably know that.
Start with your goals and then identify what a realistic, reasonable budget that you have that you're willing to commit to the project.
Grishpool emphasizes never pay more than a small deposit. Pressure to do more is a red flag. Never make any contractor payments ahead of the agreed upon time. And don't be afraid to walk away.
Never hire a contractor after your first meeting. Always make sure that you speak with references, verify their license, ensure that they're bonded and insured. Make sure you do your due diligence and ensure that you're working with a qualified, reliable team.
One renovation rule of thumb: you should never spend more than 30% of your home's current market value. Calculate that by multiplying your home's value by 0.3. You don't want your home to be worth more than you can sell it for. Also, budget for surprises. That way, when surprises come, you won't be shocked, you'll be ready. Helping you make ends meet. I'm Dawn G.
So interesting, yeah, that so many people are choosing to renovate in this economy instead of moving. And as we said, low inventory, an issue in many locations where you can't find houses that are up for sale. So if you want to change your house up a bit or get yourself a bit more space, that is one thing to consider. Now, if you want to tap into the equity of your home, you can get a home equity line of credit that's known as a HELOC. Average interest rates are the lowest right now that they've been in 3 years. Susan Campbell shows us how much a HELOC will cost you and things that you should consider before you get that loan.
The average rate for a $30,000 HELOC is just over 7%. Maybe that still feels a little high, but compared to other options for borrowing, it may be a good option, especially if you are sitting on a ton of equity.
The house doesn't quite work anymore, but you don't want to move.
You have a lot of homeowners sitting on those pandemic-era mortgage rates. So they say, you know what, maybe I'll stay in place and I'll renovate my home or maybe do debt consolidation. And that's what we see a lot of homeowners doing in terms of gravitating to HELOCs.
Bankrate's Linda Bell says the average HELOC rate right now is 7.17%, a 3-year low.
When you compare it to other forms of financing, which people are considering, like credit cards, which could be 20% on average or more, or personal loans, which should be about 12% on average or more, they're certainly more affordable.
And often HELOCs are flexible. You borrow as you need the money up to your loan limit.
Typically, it's a 10-year draw period and a 20-year repayment period.
But there are risks. The rate for a HELOC is typically adjustable, so it could get more expensive. And you have to make sure you can absorb the extra monthly cost.
And you also have to consider that when you take out a HELOC, your home is on the line, right? So if you don't pay it back, you could potentially lose your home.
So run the numbers. Compare offers from several lenders looking at the interest rate, the length of the loan, any upfront costs, annual fees, or other fees.
The other way you can tap into the equity in your home is with a home equity loan. Those are typically fixed interest rates, and right now the average is sitting at 7.85%. I'm Susan Campbell.
So again, we were just talking about the possibility of renovating, and so those are options. Just found it fascinating. I know it's on my mind a lot these days, you know, the economy and different things for debt stories and those sorts of things. So on my mind, so of course, as the Potluck, I get to bring you little bits and pieces of different topics. So when we come back, we're going to do a little more consumer news. This is a no spend challenge. Now, we've heard of those, but the question is, do they work? Welcome back to your Friday afternoon potluck. It is a gorgeous day here in the Anchorage area, blue sky. And anybody else feel like we're kind of in that I have the wrong coat season? Because it's starting out in single digits, and then by the end of the day, it's 28, 30 degrees. Those are two different coats for me. You know, I've got a coat that I wear when it gets into the teens or colder, and then I have a coat that I wear from 20 on, and they're two different coats. Hopefully we are getting to the point where we'll just have one coat for the correct season, the correct coat for the full day. Okay, no spend challenges. Have you heard of these? They're kind of everywhere. But the question is, do they actually work? Well, in this week's Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa talks about a little bit about how one of these no spending challenges, well, it might work for you.
No spend challenges are really popular because it's a way to get your spending on track and kick off some savings. Kim Palmer from NerdWallet says they found 1 in 4 Americans have tried a no spend challenge, and 1 in 3 who tried it this past January failed. Palmer says that speaks to how popular it is, but also how hard it is to stay on track.
A no spend challenge basically means you're going to spend only on essentials for that entire month and you're not going to buy any extras. So that means skipping things like the clothes you might want or an extra toy for your kids and really just sticking with essentials. And the goal is to reset your spending and to realize maybe I don't need to be spending so much on these extras, and then we can start saving more.
You can start a no spend challenge any month, and if you want to try it, Palmer says there are a few things you need to keep in mind.
First, try to get some friends on board too, because it can be really helpful if you can share the challenge with other people, maybe even share about it on social media, and that just generates some extra motivation to stay on track. We also found in the data, because such a significant portion of people do fail at the challenge, that you want to make sure you're ready to forgive yourself.
Don't feel bad if you trip up or make an extra purchase. You can always get back on track. And Palmer says sometimes it can help if you narrow down your no spend challenge, meaning pick one category like online shopping and steer clear of that for just a month. The goal is to have some extra money at the end of the month that you can either save or use to help pay off debt. Put this watch in your wallet. I'm Rachel DePompa.
Okay, I find that interesting, but the question is, what do you consider essentials? Is my morning tea essential? I don't know. So I guess that would be the interesting thing, because I can go to the grocery store and, you know, I'm buying food, but not all of that is essential. I'd have to work on that. I find that an interesting challenge. Let's talk a little bit about one of the other things that you can pick up here on Alaska's News Source. This is our 24/7 weather channel, and this is again, it goes 24/7. This is, you'll have the most recent forecast on there, as well as the forecasts that just kind of continually loop through. Right now we are at the point where we're kind of showing some of the weather cameras, live weather cameras from around the state. So there's Seldovia, just a beautiful shot of that. So you can check these out. The Anchorage forecast is always up in the upper right-hand corner. We also do go through a couple of the other, obviously the other regions of the state. The regional forecasts comes up shortly after we see these Alaska views. So beautiful view of downtown Anchorage right there. So, you know, it's really kind of a cool resource, and it gives you that option to kind of have on in the background, and you get a chance to see what the weather is doing around the state, in particular your area. So it is always a good resource. So check that out. Same place that you go to get your regular streaming. You can find that on our news app. You can find that on our website and on those free streaming platforms, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku. When you download the Alaska's News Source app, you'll have one tab that is for Alaska's News Source, and then you will also have 24/7 weather right below that, so you can click on that and enjoy that. I like it. I think it's kind of fun, and as I said, really gives you some good information, and that is some amazing shots of what we're seeing around the state. So check that out. Okay, this one I'm not sure about. I'm just not sure about it. It is called Does It Work? And this is a series that our parent company produces. And this one is about a cleaning product. It's called the Magic Track Window Cleaner. And it's supposed to make cleaning those, you know, tasks, those kind of crevice tasks in your house, it's a little bit easier. We're going to watch this, and then I'm going to talk about it on the end, because I don't know.
Beth Hammond loves keeping a clean home, and that's why she's testing the Magic Window Track Cleaner. We get 3 of these for $5.99.
It's supposed to help you clean kind of those weird little crevices like around the refrigerator or the door. Do you ever have problems cleaning those areas?
Yes. Well, I try to take like a little toothbrush or something and do it.
The handles are made with an anti-slip design and special sponges the makers claim scour stubborn areas of the home.
Fit it on the little pegs. There we go. That's how that's why the holes were
That makes sense.
far apart.
Okay, that's
there we go.
All right, well, do you mind we can clean a couple of areas in here?
Sure.
Is it more convenient than what you normally use, or?
Yeah, really. Because usually I just like take the towel and do it with my hand.
Another recommended area in the kitchen, the sink.
Is that easier than what it normally is?
Mm-hmm. And it's getting the built up soap that's up there.
The kitchen is a win, but how well does a Magic Window Track Cleaner work on its namesake?
Yeah, see, that's kind of tough in there. Oh, there we go. It looks a lot better.
Overall, Beth saw success with all 3 of the areas the makers claim their product easily cleans. She thinks the Magic Window Track Cleaner works.
Oh, that works really good.
For Does It Work, I'm Rachel Hackbarth.
What do you think? Is that something you need? It just kind of feels like, yeah, it feels like a tool without a problem to me. But I am a little bit fascinated, and now I feel like I might have to check it out, just because I am curious to see if it really does work. Maybe that's my new series, besides trying out internet recipes, trying out these things to see if they really do work. Because, I don't know, that just kind of felt like something that I'm not sure that I need. Because it didn't seem to do much more than your regular scrubby sponge. So, something to be checking out. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this week's Potluck. Again, we kind of pick up a few stories from all over the place, different topics, different things we can focus on. And I really want to thank Michaela Clark for jumping in for us earlier in the show to talk a little bit about the 64 earthquake. That is, today is the 62nd anniversary of that earthquake. And you want to check out some of those stories, you can go to our website, alaskasnewssource.com. Let's see if I can bring that up really fast. I think I can. There we are. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's try going back to that. No. Well, see, I hit a button and it did not work. So, apologize for that. Anyway, alaskasnewssource.com, you can check on that main story there. That does have the special from 2 years ago about some stories from survivors, and then also go onto our streaming platforms, and you can watch the full series there. There's a big little big square right in the front that says 60 years later, the Great Alaska Earthquake. So check that out. That is a way to get, great way to sit down and watch some of those stories. You can find them on our free streaming platforms. Thank you so much for joining us here on your Friday Potluck.